have to pay that. So you see people?
Is anybody there that can speak?
Hello.
Hello,
Yes, I can hear you.
this is Ron DeCillo. I don't see anything on my screen. What am I missing?
Somebody's presenting something, so I'm not sure.
How do I see it? How do I listen to it? Or
I would not know. I would not know, sir. I just joined. I didn't do anything special. I just
okay, all right.
maybe try to join again, leave and come out and come back.
No, I didn't yet. Let me try that.
I don't know. Mute my 'em. If they are, I lost the sound, hon. I'm sorry.
Sixteen people online.
So just want you guys to know we're representing 500 and some homes.
100 each, right? Well, thank you for representing.
That was funny.
I do probably represent.
Sarah, do you want to get this going?
He's online. Okay, Brian, whenever, if you want to start.
Let you go.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, I apologize. This is Sarah Polo. My camera is not working right now. We have about 5 people in the room, and it looks like we have 18 online. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss our financials and just to make the residents aware of projects that need to be taken care of in the development. A lot of times we have projects going on, we're talking about things, we're getting things moving, and we're just want to be as transparent as possible so everyone's aware of the exciting things that are coming up and what we're going to do to make sure we keep our neighborhood as great as it is, if not better than it is today. So that's the purpose. I attached in the original email for the meeting the budget versus actual, and you can bring it up, or if you do you have a copy in person. So everyone should have that in hand, and Tom Lang, our treasurer will kind of go through these numbers. We're just going to discuss numbers today, how things have changed over the years, and then touch on some projects that we are planning on in the near future.
Good evening, everybody. This is Tom. So I'm going to go over some very high-level numbers. Super detail. So our budget is right here where we said it would be. Looking at it, we budgeted for roughly $314,000.
Can that gentleman get closer to the mic?
I'm sorry, say it again.
We can't hear him very well.
Okay.
So we budgeted for $314,000 roughly for revenues. We've collected $307,507. So it leaves us a shortfall of $6,168 in total dues collected. We are actively working with our attorneys to collect any past dues and late fees. We do anticipate there will be some money coming in by the end of the year. Looking at our expenses, we budgeted $370,236 year to date for expenses, and our total expenses are $370,210. So we're within $26 of our budget. So we're pretty accurate. Really, it's been kind of an active year for capital expenditures. Sarah on the screen has a summary of capital expenditures. So since 2008, we've spent about $566,000 in capital expenditures. This year alone, we spent $122,000. Of that, the clubhouse that we're having this meeting in has been renovated. That was approximately $93,405. We did concrete repair where we're leveling some sidewalks throughout the neighborhood. That was $5,000. We had a landscape restoration that was related to our front entrance where we had to remove a fence and do some grading. It was $8,500. There was some painting, roughly $4,595. Then we did tennis courts where we added pickleball lines, which was $3,000. We bought $5,709 for pool furniture, and then we planted $2,015 worth of trees. But as you can see in the document that's shared online, we are doing quite a bit of repairs and or renovations. But what I'd like to do is really kind of focus on some non-capital costs, more towards the middle of the page. Going back to 2018, you can see our pool lifeguards were $42,138. This year, they were $83,094. We've seen a massive increase. I know we've talked about the pool. The total operating cost for the pool was $108,424 compared to 2018, which was $54,751. We've seen a huge increase due to the pandemic, rising costs of chemicals, labor. We have talked about this extensively. There's only a few pool companies around. They've all come in around the same rate. I literally was at a meeting just before this with a gentleman who's on the board of another development, Strongsville, and they're paying approximately the same as what we're paying. Then you can see our landscape and grass cutting, which is just grass cutting and mulch, not any restoration or things like that, was 58,000, and year to date it's 41,700. And I know we're behind a few bills, not because we haven't paid them, we just haven't received them. But Matt Schoenhut and his crew have been doing a pretty good job of controlling costs. But if you look, going down a little bit where I have the fees collected line, this is actual dollars collected. In 2018, we collected 246,000. This year, we collected roughly just under 297,000. The pool operating costs total was 22% of our budget in 18. It's now 36.5%. And when you add in the landscaping, so the pool and landscaping went from 45% to over a little over 50% of our budget is just on those items to cut grass, mulch, and maintain the pool. So that leaves us with 50% to do everything else. So if you really look at our overall finances, we had approximately 206,000 in reserves. We did move 25,000 out of there to meet our operating needs, and we'll probably need to move another 15,000 or so by the end of the year. But overall, from 2018 to current, we were able to put money back into reserves and then spend it. We're only down on our reserves $38,000 over the last 6 years, and we've done a lot of work in this development. So, you know, a lot of that goes to the hard work of the other board members, but, you know, financially, we're doing everything we can to squeeze a dime out of a nickel. So with that, I'll kind of end my summary of what we spent and where we're currently at. Sarah?
Yep, so I'm trying to get back to this thing. Okay, so from there, does anyone have any questions regarding what Tom just spoke? So the next reason we're meeting as well is to speak of other, just letting everyone know projects that are upcoming. So as he just mentioned, how much we're spending, that only leaves us with 50% of our budget for everything else. So things that are upcoming that need to be completed are, you know, we will always have pool repairs in the future. I'm certain a pool will need to be replaced after so many years. We've had requests for more pickleball nets, for example. We also have a big landscaping project that needs to be completed, the entryway to the clubhouse. All of these trees are either already dead or dying. So we can't leave it like that. So we have just been in the process of getting bids. We've received 3 or 4 bids now. 3 bids. We've received 3 bids on that project, just for the entranceway to the clubhouse. Do you want to speak towards those bids, Chris?
Yeah, for the most part, a lot of it entails taking out those. A lot of it entails taking out the white pines from all the way from the entrance all the way to the community sign. A lot of those over the years, they're the white pines, so a lot of them have outgrown the area. We're also going to give perfect, Brian. And then we're also going to redo the entrance where we have a pillar sign with the address. We want to make it more inviting because right now, as everybody drives by the area, it kind of gets lost. A lot of the shrubbery and brush has overgrown. Some of it's starting to die out, and some of it's kind of choking everything out. So our plan was basically from the sidewalk all the way back to remove the white pines up on top, and then just continue with some of the decorative grasses, get some uplighting, irrigation, just make it more inviting for the residents as well as, from a long-term standpoint. I know Jim and I, we met with 3 different companies. We recently received their proposals. And so we're still trying to evaluate to see, you know, what will work, as well as from a value engineering standpoint. So maybe we don't need to do the whole thing depending on the budget. Jim, did you have anything else particular to, for everybody who's here, this is kind of what it looks like. Okay. So here's the sidewalk, here's the entrance here. So we're thinking about taking out the white plants along here, as well as this is part of it. And we do the shrubbery, getting grass, just, you know, refreshing it, just giving it a nice refresh.
I mean, I think we have pines that are dying. We have grading issues. We have water issues there with the residents in the close proximity. But there's other multiple areas that we've talked about over the years that have to be done. Unfortunately, those are a much higher price tag. So I think us as a board wanted to look at this. Let's just try to complete one area, and then we'll tackle our next one. So the cost of this compared to some of the other ones would be a lot less, and we kind of finish this area. Outside of all, I mean, eventually all those pines in that mountain will have to be replaced eventually, but this is the worst of the worst. We have shrubbery that's overgrown. We have shrubbery that's...
They can't hear you well.
We have shrubbery that is overgrown, and then we have shrubbery that is dying, and it's been dying. We looked at maybe over the years just kind of piecemealing it, taking it out, but you're putting money into something that really you can't even put lipstick on a pig with it. So that's why we decided, hey, let's move forward and just get some numbers here and look into what we can do there. We met with some of the homeowners there. They're excited because of that mound. You can't tell unless you walk up there in the neighbor's yard. Is probably 2 to 3 feet higher than their grade. So all that water comes over, probably why it's contributing to water issues there in their yard, but also the killing of the pine trees with the absorbent amount of water that's over there. Yeah, all that, I mean, we're actually looking to potentially bring that pine, bring it down. What we've noticed in areas that originally were supposed to be wooded, like if you go over by Time Sports, that was they tried to use dirt.
Sorry, we can't hear who's talking.
Hold on a second. You have to be by here.
I think so. Over the years, it could be partly when the neighborhood was established, they used a lot of the excess dirt and they dumped it over there. And then over the years with the mulch, it just built up, and that's how it got 1 to 3 feet, some areas higher. But also thinking like some areas where they were trying to lose some dirt, they leveled it, wooded areas and just compacted it with dirt. And you can see it over here with the mounds and all that. If you remember at the beginning of the year, we looked at actually about what we could do for in the future, maybe having some amenities over there. But when we looked at what it would cost to remove that dirt, it was in excess of $25,000. So great idea, I think, looking long term, but we have so many issues to deal with short term that we couldn't justify that.
So where we are now is we received 3 bids for this front entrance. All 3 are very comparable, actually. So we're just trying to go through all the details, determine what's the best option for us, and go from there. But just that front entranceway could be, I mean, upwards of $80,000 to do that entrance with all the trees, removal of the trees, etc. So landscaping, as we all know, is not cheap. So I know everyone was asking, you know, why aren't we spending this? Why aren't we spending that? Because we have all of these large projects as well. Other things too, I'm not sure where it is on the expenditures. We've been spending a lot more money on ponds as well. These ponds are meant as, you know, water retention, removing all of the bad stuff so it doesn't go into our natural resources. So it's ending up in our ponds, which is what it's supposed to do. So it's very hard to keep the ponds perfectly clear without algae growth, et cetera, because they're doing their job. They're collecting all this stuff that we don't want to go into the natural resources. So we've spent more money in chemicals and also have increased our treatments, et cetera, trying to get the ponds looking better as well. So constantly looking at everything, the development. Yes, we do have to spend a ton of money on the pool because that is our most expensive item between that and grass cutting. But there's a lot of other things that we have to spend our money on as well to keep everything moving.
And just a side note with the ponds, we've been doing this for a while, and really Sarah did a phenomenal job with working with Aqueduct. This is the worst we've ever seen. Now, there's times where in July you get hot, humid, dry weather, so algae would build up, and then typically when the weather came down, when ice rainfall, it would break it up, and it was pretty close to nothing. This year, it started right off the bat in the spring with the excess algae. We were all scratching our heads. We worked with Aqueduct, but really it wasn't until Sarah came, they really busted their chops and really pushed them to say, hey, look, this is unacceptable. And you know, they stepped up, they did everything in their power to mediate it, but it was a long process. And one, we still don't understand why that happened. Because over all the years I've been doing this, it's never saw it like that before. So
we're trying to do things. We're adding some vegetation around the pond. Anything so they don't just not just feeding off of the pond. So it has other places to go. And like I said, increase in chemicals. We've also, sorry, we're standing as close to the mic as possible. What was I going to say? We also brought in aerators where they're loaning them to us for free to see how that helps. So, you know, we're trying everything in regards to the pond. So, and other projects that we've done, we just repainted the playground, just put up new signs, you know, just trying to, you know, how old is the development now? I don't even know.
98.
Okay. So we're basically like, by this point, everything needs refresh. So, you know, tidying things up, painting things, cleaning things up, changing out, the signs are new, ponds, et cetera. Now landscaping is a big piece because the trees, like we mentioned, are dying. We have to replace them and it costs a lot of money. Do you guys have anything else?
Quick question. Do we know what kind of trees we're replacing the white pines with?
Norways. We're gonna be replacing them with Norways. And just from a cost standpoint, there's a total of about 39 white pines that are gonna be removed. So that's a big portion of the budget right there, but they are gonna be replaced with Norways.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions?
You know, I see we have expense for cable TV. So does this cable TV have like Hawkeye's game or the Browns game?
Someone here asked that they see an expense for cable TV, and asked if you can watch the Browns game or the Buckeyes game here. I don't know the answer to that.
You would pick it up, yes.
Yes.
Spectrum.
You keep on.
Because I think
Oh, right. You have to read it. You have to read it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never used it, but I think last year there was
Someone rented it out for an Ohio State game.
I just want to make a comment. I really appreciate the pickleball nets that we put up, and you have a big group now coming in to play. Usually four courts or something will bring their own nets.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, one extra one. But
One of ours broke.
no.
Oh.
No, yours.
And you know, just addressing that really quick, we have had people ask for more pickleball nets. So where we are, as you can see, all of these expenditures kind of, you know, we would love to buy every single thing that everyone's asking, but like the gentleman who came in earlier, he would really like to get his sidewalks repaired, which is a couple $1,000. Other people want more pickleball nets, which is another $1,000. So we're just trying to make sure we're spending our money maintaining and also making better, but we have to make sure we're spending it everywhere where it needs to be spent correctly. Also, if we have 4 pickleball nets going at the same time and someone were to come in and play tennis, they couldn't. So with having 2 at a time, you can move them. So if someone comes in to play tennis, they can move to the other. So that's kind of another.
We could just quit on 1:30.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
So, yeah.
Just a side note, you've heard about sidewalks a couple times, and understand residents are responsible for the sidewalks in front of their homes. Okay, the sidewalks that we're referring to that need to be worked on are ones that abut association property. Like when you come in off Country Way, there's multiple areas. When you go out here on Country Way, across the street is the white fence. Like that sidewalk there is our responsibility. So there are pockets of areas that we as an association are responsible for. If there's any in front of your home, that you would be responsible for that. So we're not taking care of this gentleman's sidewalks in front of his home. He's representing a sub association, a cluster within our neighborhood, saying there's a sections that need to be fixed. We did phase 1 of that. Now we have to do phase 2. Yeah.
I just want to say it's important to take care of the sidewalks. Several years ago, I was walking my dog and tripped on one of our broken sidewalks. I almost ended up dying from.
Wow.
What was your question? Did you have?
I'm going back to the and I'm sure this has been brought up to you before. You know, people can reach in to open, and it's a possibility of getting more screening around, so they can't reach in.
Okay. Right. Someone in the audience mentioned that kids can reach in and open the pickleball court. I believe there's like a metal piece there now. We could maybe, I'll look into seeing it. Even somewhere like from Next Day Signs, that's who creates our large aluminum signs. Just a piece of the aluminum, that's a good idea.
That's good to know. Thank you for letting us know.
Go ahead. We have another question in the room, so I will let them ask the question first, and then I will repeat it towards the microphone. So if you hear echoing, that's why.
I was just going to say it's going to come with a lot of negativity about the pool being such a huge expense. And I know it's attractive for our community and our whole Westwood farms, but I feel only maybe half of our residents use it. It's a huge expense, had a hard time getting lifeguards. I don't know, I just question that all the time. Along with a lot of people down our development that are in cluster homes that never used it. And it is a huge expense. And I'm glad that, you know, my granddaughter was able to come and use it, and I'm thankful for that. But you know, if it's ever really readdressed as far as the huge expense, like you said, about 50%.
With the landscaping.
With the landscape.
You know,
they were mentioning that, you know, the pool is such a huge expense, how many people actually use the pool, et cetera. Just bringing it to our attention, not a specific question. Oh, okay, you're welcome. And really quick, go ahead, Jim, if you had something first.
Well, I think to answer your question there, you know, a lot of things that we do are questioned, right? I think you have a bunch of amenities and you have a bunch of ideas, and not everybody shares that, right? But I think as a board, especially when we learned with the tennis courts, there was a huge push. There was a community that said, we're going to spend $100,000 on this. Nobody uses it, just get rid of it. And I think as a board, you know, we had a meeting. It's great. We had 100+ people in here. It's probably one of the biggest ones that we had saying, how long will take these tennis courts away? And I think from that, we decided as a board, you know, people moved in the neighborhood for these amenities, and that we weren't going to be the ones that we're not in the business of getting rid of it. We are tasked with maintaining what we have. And I think that's all of our vision here is they're here. As far as we're here, they're going to stay here, and we're going to do the best we can. It is tough to swallow how much this is. COVID changed a lot of things in a lot of ways, and one of them were these expenses. And, you know, they continue to climb. But as we want to stay competitive with the other neighborhoods. First and foremost, be able to provide a nice, beautiful atmosphere for all of us, but also stay competitive. And it's tough when you look at these numbers that we're spending money here, and we have to though. You know, and I won't get into it because I've been here a while. Other communities were raising their dues long before us, and that hurt us because as they were climbing, they were building and they were doing more. I'll give a good example is Waterford Crossing. They are ahead of us with a lot of maintenance of their ponds, their landscape, all these areas, and we're almost playing catch up now. So when we're trying to do all this stuff and we are spending money, but we're not in the business of getting rid of our men. We're going to do our best to maintain.
Yeah. Like Jim said, our responsibility as a board is to maintain what we have. So if someone bought a house here with these amenities, whether if I ever swim or play pickleball, it's still part of the amenities. Another point that someone just made online, it is a huge selling point because we do not have a public pool in our city. So having a pool in your development is a major piece of that. I can absolutely understand what you're saying. But in the same token, you know, like I don't play basketball or whatnot, but when we all moved in, this was part of, you know, what we bought into was the amenities. So we have to continue to maintain them. Someone just asked, what are the dues at Waterford Crossing? Brian Junge might know the answer to that one.
I think 675 now. Hold on, I'll look.
Okay. And I think you mentioned Waterford has a management company now managing that they pay $30,000 a year to manage their development.
37,000. Their website's not updated. They've got old information on there, so I don't know.
Clearly they need a new management. I believe the last we saw was 675.
Where are we at? 550.
But, you know, and that's part of showing you, we have a lot of projects that are coming up. So, so it's really, I'm trying to see. It's
really just not the dudes. It's what they were back in 2006, 8, 10. We stayed at 350 for a very long time. And as we were spending at 350, they were bringing out capital. We figured this was going to happen because we're aging. And I just don't think we can continue to turn our heads towards it.
I love the landscape. It's beautiful. It is.
Yes.
Does anyone have any questions in the room otherwise? The question is, what are our reserve requirements for the development? Do you have yours?
I could probably.
Hold on one second. I'm just passing my computer down.
The question was the reserve requirements. So, and Brian Jungeberg can jump in on here too if I missed something. So every so often we do a reserve study where they actually tell us what has to be done and they forecast what our dues are. We use that kind of as a guide. In our last review that we had, our financial review, we were at about 100% of what we were supposed to. But if you look at the reserve study, they have us doing repairs in a very set order, but life doesn't work that way. Things happen. So if you compare it, we probably need another updated reserve study because we've done so much to kind of see where those pieces are. And they also have in the reserve study, like 10 years out that are reserved just based because everything would be done and we wouldn't have repairs or reserves would be at $1 million. That's impossible. I can tell you that right now. I work in finance. That model is not realistic. So, Brian, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, Tom, I was just looking to see what the current bylaws say on that, and I couldn't remember off the top of my head. Bear with me.
And I can't remember when we did the last reserve study. It's been a couple of years, I think.
Yeah, and they have followed up to do it. It does cost money, but we found it to be a very helpful guide. It's a very thorough exercise. They send someone out and they basically walk through the entire development, all the amenities. We provide a ton of information to them with respects to when we've done repairs or upgrades or improvements, the last time all that's been done, and then they go out and do the forecast. I'm talking while I'm looking, so bear with me. I don't believe that there's actually a percentage in the reserve in the current bylaws. The proposed bylaws did kind of have that more fine line for everybody. So
I believe you are correct. It doesn't say it in the bylaws.
Yep.
Yep. But we use that reserve study really as a basis. And it's probably been, I think, 3 years since we've done it. We've done a lot since then. So as Brian said, we need to get that updated.
Any other questions in the room? No.
Still an open item. Proposed status or the status of the proposed bylaws and covenant restrictions. No change, not enough votes to either pass it or defeat it.
Someone asked the status of the proposed bylaws, and we still have not received enough responses to either pass or defeat it. We also have not received any questions about the bylaws.
I know you mentioned that there was that you've got 3 bids for the landscaping for the tree removal and such. What's the expected timeline of that?
The proposed timeline is this fall, so very soon.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions online or in person? No, I appreciate everyone for joining. We just really wanted to show you our numbers, show you what's happening, what's coming. It's exciting stuff. It's expensive, but it's exciting because our neighborhood looks fantastic and we want to keep it that way. So I appreciate everyone's attendance. Brian, do you have anything else you want to add?
Nope.
No? Okay. Anything else here? Okay, that's everything for tonight. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you.
I did record.